Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We are Vacay Mode Travels. That is Sarah. I am Alden. Our topic today is a really important one that a lot of couples are looking for some guidance on. How to choose the right resort for a destination wedding. We're going to break down some of the elements and things that you want to look for when choosing the right resort. There are so many hundreds of resorts out there, but the experience that is offered definitely varies depending on which resort. They're always changing as well. A lot of the new resorts are kind of geared towards larger groups and destination weddings, which can make for a lot better experience too. So these are some of the things that we're going to look into as well. And then another thing you can do too, if you aren't sure, you can always reach out to us. We would love to introduce ourselves and get the opportunity to show you a variety of options based on what you're looking for.
But if you decide to DIY this process and take it on yourself, today we're going to break down the 10 things you want to look for when you're choosing your destination wedding resort, starting with the first thing being the comprehensive wedding packages. Every resort has their own version of wedding packages, and you really want to look for packages that include all the necessities. Things like the ceremony venue, the officiant, some basic decor, a cake, a sound system, some on-site coordination. But you also want to take in mind, what is that resort's minimum room nights? When we get into things like spring break, some resorts elongate their required room nights, so you want to know how many nights minimally do your guests need to stay.
Say that again?
Yes. Any outside vendor fees, what do they allow outside vendors, and what is the cost of having those? What are the costs to upgrade your decor? Maybe you know that the wedding package, the chairs that come with the wedding package you don't like, and you know you want to swap those out. Just make sure that that's counted into your budget. And the reception time limits. If you envision having a very late reception. Also, one thing you want to keep in mind, a lot of resorts require outdoor venues to shut down by 10 or 11 for reception. So these are some of the things that you want to take into consideration when you're picking that resort.
Yeah, just in general, resorts will offer you a base package, and that just means the basic essentials. And like Sarah said, is once you start customizing things, that's where those costs can add up. And time limits, that's a good point too, because a lot of couples like to go later into the night, and if there's a 10 p.m. time limit, that may dictate kind of which resort you end up deciding on. The second thing you want to look for is that there's multiple ceremony and reception locations. When we chat with you and get to know you and what you're looking for, if you're looking to have a beachfront reception, does that mean you're looking for toes in the sand? Are you looking for an archway? Are you looking for a gazebo? Are there terraces that you can have a cocktail hour or reception space? What we're looking for are variety, but as well as a plan B. Hopefully you have great weather on your wedding and it's beautiful and sunny and relaxed, but you do need to consider your backup options as well. At least have an idea what those look like should you have to set up for those. So that's what we're looking for in a resort, is those reception and ceremony spaces.
Yes, item number 3 we're looking for is a good wedding department, and this matters more than you think, because we want a wedding department that is responsive. We want to know that they're going to get back to us, they're going to answer our questions. We want to make sure that they're easy to work with, they have a lot of experience. Some of the things we're asking them are, how many weddings per day do you do? We find that resorts that only do 1 or 2 weddings a day tend to offer better service to the bride and groom versus resorts that are doing 3, 4, or even 5 weddings a day. Another thing is looking for the dedicated wedding team, and when do they start the actual planning? Whereas Alden and I actually walk you through all of the wedding planning even before we get connected to the resort's wedding department. If you decide to DIY this process, you want to know how quickly or when do you get connected to that on-site wedding coordinator. Some resorts are only 30, 60, 90 days before, and that means you're going to be doing all of the wedding planning leading up to the travel, and that's definitely something you want to know ahead of time, so you can get all of your desired selections and vendors locked in.
That's the biggest thing I think that we can offer couples, is getting that planning started ahead of time, because once you get to 60 and 30 days in, it's really just final touches, how you're going to pack things, and just that's it. I can't imagine trying to pack that much planning into a 60 or 30-day window. There's just too much to confirm. Plus, you're going to not have as much availability as far as vendor choices at that time, because they're already booked up. And don't overlook how many weddings they do a day. Some couples say, well, I just want one wedding a day. Don't overlook that. That doesn't mean that you're going to have another wedding. And even if there is, resorts do a good job of making sure those spaces are separated so you're not even seeing the other one.
And different times.
Yep, at different times. The fourth thing is having guest-friendly room options, making sure that there's guaranteed bedding. There may or may not be. We always try to inform the resort what bedding preferences people have.
But if you are having a wedding where you know you're going to have a lot of people doubling up in rooms, they want to share rooms, that's an important thing to know up front. So that way when you're choosing your resort, we're choosing an option that has guaranteed bedding, because some resorts will guarantee it, others will not. If you're only going to have a few people sharing rooms, maybe that's not such a big factor to you, but it always good thing to consider.
If you're looking for a family-friendly experience, are there adult-only sections of the resort? What do those sections look like? Is there an adults-only pool, maybe an adults-only rooftop area? These are things that can enhance the experience for your friends and family too. Is there a clear group booking process through the resort? And then flexibility in payment timelines. And those are things that we're going to walk through you as our client.
Yes. Number 5 is amenities that elevate the experience in the vacation itself. So this could be things like multiple restaurants, making sure there's a variety of food and that it's good food. Contrary to popular belief, not all-inclusive food is good food. Yeah. So, determining the variety available and how important that is to you is an important factor in this process. Swim-up bars, spa services. If you envision doing your hair and makeup at the resort, we want to make sure that they have a spa. Excursions. How accessible are nearby excursions, and is that something that's important to you? If you envision taking everybody and doing a pre-welcome catamaran, we want to make sure that you're within the vicinity of where it's going to be easy and accessible to arrange one of those catamarans. Welcome party spaces. If you envision doing a welcome party, cocktail hour, any type of a farewell, mimosa brunch, anything like that, we want to make sure that there's dedicated spaces for that, for those services and extra events.
Mimosa brunch sounds good. Number 6 is accessibility and travel logistics. This is one of the first things I bring up to our couples is keep in mind, the wedding day is super important, the venue, all that, but you do have to get all your guests from point A to point B, and what does that process look like getting to that resort? For example, if you're going into Cancun International, up north to Costa Mujeres, Cancun is going to be 45 minutes or less, and that's what a lot of our couples aim for. That's what we aim for, because a lot of people, when they get off the plane, they have already been on a 3-4 hour flight. The last thing they want is an hour plus ride. I know that once you start getting south to places like Tulum, you can get north of an hour. Same thing on the Cabo side. A lot of places are within 45 minutes there. So
also a reason why you want to opt for private transfers for your wedding group.
Yes.
Nobody wants to make 50 stops to every resort along the way after they've done that flight. They just want to get to the resort and start the vacation.
Well, are there options for what transfers they have? We always recommend private direct transfers. Again, although it's not as cost effective as a shared one, with a shared one it's going to be a longer drive and you have to stop at resort to resort, and then who knows how long that process is. For a little bit more, you can get there direct from point A to point B, which just makes for a better experience for your friends and family.
Yes. Number 7 is going to be real reviews. You want to look at real wedding reviews for the resorts. Look at the resort's wedding department review. What do the previous bride and groom say about it? The group booking experiences, the vendor coordination feedback. When you're working with resorts, a lot of them will have a preferred vendor list. We want to see reviews of those specific vendors. How happy have previous couples been? This information definitely matters. Also never hurts to set up a one-on-one, a call with these vendors so they can get to know you. You can talk about what you're looking for, and you can just see if the vibe is right.
Yep, definitely. Number 8 is customization flexibility. You might be a laid-back bridal couple and just want the basic, and that's fine. But if you do want to make customized choices, what does that process look like? What are the outside vendor policies for this resort? Some resorts will have it where you can only use in-house vendors, and that can limit. You might be okay with that, but if you're looking for a lot of customization, you want all the vendors available to you, and that may be more than what the resort offers. So take a look at what their vendor policies are.
And just factoring in the cost as well. If you plan to use a lot of outside vendors, you want to know how high that outside vendor cost is. I've seen it as low as $500 or even waived if the vendor's in the room block, all the way to $5,000. So they can vary significantly, in understanding what that cost is per outside vendor is very important.
Yep. If you, for example, if you have a photographer that's within the family, that is considered an outside vendor a lot of times. So they, will take that into account. But if you're okay just using everything on site, that may work for you too. Menu customization, you might have a lot of dietary restrictions for your friends and family. How customizable is the food? If you're going to do a cocktail hour and appetizers, is it just one choice, or do you have choices in there? That's what a lot of couples are looking for, and it just does vary between resort.
A couple other things to think about when we're looking at customization is, do you have any cultural or religious ceremony factors that you want included in there, because they may or may not be available at certain resorts. Another popular trend I've seen a lot is brides wanting to do the trash the dress. Not all resorts will allow that. So again, something to just consider. Not all of them are going to let you jump in the pool at the end of the night due to safety concerns. So just something that you want to be aware of, if that is something that's very important to you, something to state early on, so we can make sure to include that as a filter in the matching process.
For people who don't know what trash the dress is, what is that?
Yes, so that's when a bride at the end of the night jumps into the pool with her dress. They swim around in it. It's just like a big old party. But again, not all resorts allow it, so important to understand if that is something that's important to you.
Yes. Number 9 is weather backup plans. We talked about this a little bit early. Again, it's more of a bigger concern in Mexico. Any bad weather can happen anytime, but definitely in the fall time you have a higher chance of rain, and you might be in hurricane season, so you really need to consider those backup options. And
you really want to consider, do they have maybe they have another terrace that's covered? Do they have an indoor ballroom? But whatever those backup options are, you want to make sure that you're going to be satisfied with those, and that you do factor that in from the beginning. Now, again, we always hope that that's not the case, but we always want to be prepared just in case. We don't want your wedding vision to get to not be held up because the rain happened and we had to move it. So we want to make sure that that's factored in right away.
Yep.
How are you going to transfer the decor? That's another important factor. If you have specific decor that you want, florals in the aisles or an arch, how are we tweaking this to accommodate a plan B should we need to do that?
Yeah, and if you do have two or more weddings a day, and everyone needs a backup plan, how does that process work? Who has priority should that happen?
Yes.
The last thing is number 10, the true value. If you have a slew of resorts that all are kind of the same, and you really just don't know how to decide, then it just comes down to really the specifics. For example, service. Is there a service that's really, really good at one resort, and we're looking for those high marks, especially in the last year? Service reviews from over a year ago don't do us much help. We want to know how the service has been as of late. Are people having a good time? The wedding team experience, are they communicative to us? Are they getting out to us? That's kind of a big deal. Overall guest satisfaction. What high marks are people having at these resorts? And that can ultimately help you decide which resort to choose on.
Yes. Do they offer transparent pricing when you're asking questions for costs of extra vendors, maybe a DJ or photographer? Are they being transparent with the pricing, or is it kind of seeming like it's going to be whatever they feel like it is? That's really important to know. You need to have all fixed costs so you can budget accordingly.
Yes. I was going to say, speaking of budget, we definitely always try to be respectful of our couple's budget, but we always would like to mention that the cheapest resort is not always the best investment. Again, we're trying to be respectful of your budget, but maybe in the long run, you may look back and not even think twice about what you spent, as long as you had a beautiful wedding day and a great experience for your family and friends.
Yes, but part of that value doesn't also include the concessions, which is credits you can earn back to help offset the wedding costs. I like to tell couples never to bank on concessions. It is a very important factor, and it can really help offset a lot of those wedding costs. So definitely something to keep in mind. Now, one question a lot of couples ask is, what is the average cost of a destination wedding resort package? How much is this going to cost me? You know, the cost on destination weddings range so much. Resort packages can be complimentary with a certain amount of rooms and room nights. Packages can go all the way up to 15, 20,000 and beyond. The only other thing I wanted to say was, if you are wondering how much it is going to cost, go to our website, vacationtravels.com. We have a cost calculator on there. You can put in your preferences, the items that are important to you, and it'll help at least point you in the right direction.
Thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week.
Talk soon.